Full house over there. Let's get back into it. Back to the Phil Cowan program, AM 1380, The Answer.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's 8:37, and today on the Capital Hour, I wanted to chat with some very nice women who have stopped by, and I appreciate their time. Greg Burt of California Family Council, and this is a conversation that we've had on several occasions, and we just discussed the same issue Monday with Mary Rice Hassan, co-author of the book Get Out Now. Get your kids out of California public schools before it's too late, and that is the new California education curriculum, which seeks to promote aberrant sexual practices. Let me put it that way, and I'm being fairly benign in I think that characterization. And kids as young as 5, 6, and 7. I mean, this starts at the very beginning. Joining us now from a new group called Informed Parents of California, Stephanie and Aileen and Michele are here. There is a rally at the California Capitol today. Is that correct? What time?
Yes, Phil. It is at 1:30 this afternoon, and we'll rally for about an hour. And after that, we're going to proceed down to the California Department of Education building, where we will make public comment before the Instructional Quality Commission. Okay,
very good. So there is still an opportunity to make public comments before the state. I know that you and I had that conversation, Greg, that in Elk Grove a couple of Fridays, like 2 weeks ago, today was the last day for public comment at the district level. But at the state level, we still have an opportunity to weigh in.
Well, yes, there's all kinds of different efforts. This particular curriculum is the Healthy Youth Act, and now it's being used to reform the health curriculum in the state. So they're putting together a new plan, a new goal that's going to guide curriculum for the next decade, and so that's
under the guise of health education.
That's right.
Okay, so who would like to speak first? I trust you're all moms.
We are.
And just we've spoken, before about the kind of education that is going on and what is part of this curriculum. And Greg and I have talked before about the fact that I'm sorry to say that it is the LGBT lobby in the California legislature that's really driving policy these days. And this is the inevitable result of that. They want LGBT behavior and lifestyle to be promoted in a positive manner in California public schools. And again, it starts in kindergarten. Talk about what the rally is about today.
The rally today is really an opportunity for moms and dads and people who care about their kids and families staying intact to roar back at the legislature today, because this is an egregious overstep into the lives of families. When you see the specifics on the curriculum, which Stephanie and Michele could tell you a little more about, you'll recognize, and parents across the state are reaching out to us, because Stephanie started a Facebook page. She just never thought we would be here. But you know what? We're hearing from parents across the state saying, no way, not on my watch. I'm not allowing this to happen to my kids. I'll stop at nothing to protect them if that means pulling them out. They're going to school board meetings. They're showing up. They're writing letters. They're responding to this 1,000-page framework document.
It's 1,000 pages.
Yes, and they're taking the time to go through it and to learn the education codes. They're getting informed. They're getting into the business of the legislature and the California Department of Education. These women and men, they know what they're talking about. So you know what? It's time for us to roar back. We're informed, we're articulate, and we're going to keep showing up. We're going to be here today. We're going to come back in March. We're going to be back in May, and they'll know what our problems are. And hopefully, we're hoping that they do not adopt the California Health Framework.
And for those who might think, oh, this is all just hyperbolic nonsense, that it's not as bad as you want to lead us to believe, what are some of the things included in this curriculum that folks may not know about?
Stephanie, why don't you tell us?
Okay, so some of the things that are included, and I apologize ahead of time because it's pretty graphic, is that they're teaching different types of sexual activity in detail. So one of the things that they're teaching our children is anal sex. And
at what age do they begin talking about that?
Well, I have a curriculum page right here, and it says K through 12 curriculum, and it talks about that type of behavior. It also talks about behaviors where we teach our children how to wash their hands after they use the restroom so that we don't spread germs and disease.
Exactly.
And they're telling our children, and it says right here, K through 12, to put their mouth somewhere that it should never go.
And when I was a kid, sex education, when we were in about the 8th grade, and it was rather controversial then, and I know I'm an old guy, but, that's when they would get into the basics of, what sex was. It was genuinely sex education for kids who may not understand at that age, but we're talking to children prior to the age of 10 about this stuff now?
Yes.
Yes.
It's mandatory once in junior high, once in high school. However, if a school district chooses to teach it at any other grade, K through 12, they can do so. So Oceanside started in kindergarten. San Diego starts in 5th or 4th grade. Fremont, California starts in 4th grade. And who knows how many other. There's 977 school districts in California.
4th grade.
Yeah, these are
And kindergarten.
9-year-olds.
Yeah. Gosh, unbelievable. I am grateful that my kids are all grown and gone and adults, although I have a grandson now who's only a year and a half old, and he will fall prey to this indoctrination someday if this is allowed to happen. A quick question for you, Greg. In chatting with Mary Rice Hassan on Monday, I know we were talking about an opt-out provision. She says her understanding is that the opt-out provision has been removed. There is no opportunity to opt out your child from this curriculum.
Well, there's opt-out if they define it as sex ed. But
if it's health ed, there's no opt-out.
Well, if we're talking about gender identity, transsexual information, or sexual orientation, those topics are not considered sex ed. Only when you actually mention the actual sexual organs does it...
The function of sex.
So all this stuff about starting in kindergarten, teaching kids that, gender is based on your feelings, not your biology, that is all going to be put in every grade according to the health.
I am curious as to why it is that within the public education institution, within that framework, biology teachers aren't speaking out against the anti-scientific bent of this curriculum.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, Phil, because in our crossings, as we have gathered up a coalition of people and families, and we have come in contact with lots of teachers. And what they tell us is they are bullied. They're so afraid of the unions. And they're so afraid of administration in the unions that they don't speak up. They're afraid they're going to lose their jobs, that they're going to get sued. We know of teachers whom that has happened to. One of our dear friends, Rebecca Friedrichs from Southern California, sued the
I am
California
familiar
Teachers
with her,
Association.
yes.
And, she's trying to help to free those teachers now. It's a joint effort. We recognize that we need a broad coalition to get this done. But Michele has very specific examples of what's going to be in the framework now because of that gender theory or gender indoctrination piece that's now codified into law that you cannot opt out of. And I'd love for Michele to share with you what are some of the explicit examples from.
Have at it, Michele, because I'm dying to know. I find this to be so anti-scientific as to be laughable, but they take it seriously. So please, what are they going to tell our kids?
All right. So in traditional kindergarten through 3rd grade, they have asked the teachers to challenge the children's gender stereotypes. They actually tell them, while this understanding is limited, students can still be challenged. They ask them to challenge. They ask them to read them a book called My Princess Boy. They say it's age appropriate. It's not age appropriate. They tell them that they need to dispel myths by gender expectations in kindergarten. They said to lay out the groundwork for acceptance. They tell them that gender nonconformity and physical characteristics are often at the root of many forms of bullying. They ask them to bring up colors, to bring up toys. They ask them to use gender-neutral pronouns, that they shouldn't do he, she, him, her, his, hers, that they should be doing they, them, theirs. They...
So in other words, we're going to teach our young children that there simply is no difference between boys and girls.
That's
that
exactly.
We're just people, and we can be whatever we want to be.
Absolutely.
But it's not only that, Phil. You know what? They're doing that, and then they're rewriting language rules and grammar rules before these kids even learn them.
Yes.
And they're also, they're just pulling them off their moors as little humans. They can't even they can't get this. They're too young. They don't understand this. They don't have the developmental capability.
And that happened. In fact, we've got to get to a break here. Well, we'll get back to that when we come back, because this was a serious issue, as I'm sure you know, at a charter school nearby in Rockland just last year. And the biggest complaint I got from parents in that conversation was, our kids came home really confused. They were kindergartners and first graders.
That's right.
And they were really kind of anxious about what they were being told, because it just didn't make any sense to them. We'll have more with Stephanie and Aileen and Michele of Informed Parents of California. They are going to be having a rally today, 1:30. West Steps? South Steps of the Capitol. I can never keep track. It's 13 before 9. We'll be right back. It's a tall order. Was I up that entire break?
You were not.
Okay, good. You did that.
I just brought you up because it was time for you to be on.
Well, thank you. Well, we're having a conversation here. We are joined by a group of moms from Informed Parents of California, a new organization that's having a rally on the South Steps of the Capitol today. Stephanie, Aileen, and Michele are with us. And right before the break, we were talking about how young we are starting to indoctrinate these kids with this concept of gender fluidity. And that was the biggest complaint I heard from parents in this Rockland charter school issue last year was, these kids are too young to understand this. And they were coming home really confused. Am I going to turn into a girl, or am I going to turn into a boy? They can't wrap their heads around it. And the question I have is, the people who are really pushing this new curriculum, how many of them have children?
Not at our board meeting, not many.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think it is people who have not raised kids, who don't understand what child development is like, that are pushing this so hard, and they can't relate. They don't know what kids are like at 5 and 6 years old because they haven't had them.
Well, it's interesting because the original author of AB 329, which is known as the California Healthy Youth Act, is Shirley Weber, and she does have adult children. So I don't know if she would be willing to. I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with her about that, because the law does require that instruction be age appropriate and non-biased and medically accurate. Hold on.
I'm sorry. That's worth a laugh.
Right. So medically accurate, and that it does not promote religious views. And so actually what we are doing is we're trying to hold them to account to what the law actually states. We're asking them to ensure that the medical accuracy is there, but it's littered. The curricula that are compliant with the law now, littered with medical inaccuracies. Age appropriateness, no. I mean, there isn't a child development specialist that could tell you that a 5-year-old can understand this concept of challenging gender.
Well, and if we're going to talk about medical accuracy, to act as if gender is somehow different than sex, or that looking at a newborn and that adults are making a guess as to what their gender is, I'm sorry, that is medically and scientifically inaccurate.
Those aren't the only medical inaccuracies that they are telling our children. Along with the STDs, their rates.
I don't know what's going on here. This is. Try it again. No, we're having an issue here. I apologize. That's our equipment malfunction. Yes.
Okay. Some of the medical inaccuracies, especially when it comes to HIV, they're not telling them that the protection that they're telling our kids to use, that the efficacy rate is 70% with 100% perfect use. Now, even adults can't do 100% perfect use, so it dropped down dramatically. Yeah. So that means 30 out of 100 kids will get HIV. There's an HIV epidemic going on in Orange County, and I'm sure all over California and the United States, with teens. They have to open up special wards in the children's hospital because of it, but they're not reporting on these things, and they're lying about it. This is so harmful to our kids mentally, emotionally and physically. It's dangerous.
Well, and when it comes to the issue of HIV, and just between us girls, let's be honest, they have lied about it for years. Yes. About where the real risk is, and that we're all in danger of getting HIV. We're not. That there are certain risk communities that are particularly acutely at risk, and for heaven's sake, now we're promoting on television Truvada for PrEP. Take a pill and go ahead and engage in risky behavior. It's foolish what we're doing.
Well, that was another interesting thing, is that the PrEP was not FDA approved for kids, adolescents, until May 15th of 2018. However, it's been in the curriculum for years. How can they put in non-FDA approved medication for kids when it's not?
They were
FDA
already
approved?
promoting this
Yes.
as part of the curriculum?
Yes. And even certain contraceptions, I'm not sure if I can say that, the
yeah,
condoms,
yeah.
They're not FDA approved for the anal sex, but they're promoting it. So how can they're putting our kids at risk.
It's an off-label use of the
product.
product.
And again, we're trying to keep this as clinical and as benign as we possibly can, but it is discomforting to even be having this discussion or to feel uncomfortable about it. Our kids shouldn't be hearing about it.
That's right.
And they're in the class together.
Yeah.
They're not even separating them. The comprehensive sexual education, it's not sex ed, it's sexuality they're pushing. It's a minimum of 2 weeks. The curriculums are almost 300 pages. There's a page and a half of abstinence.
Yeah. Well, and that is the big problem when it comes to sex ed. We have transitioned from teaching kids about sex to promoting sex among our young people.
That's right.
And that is a dangerous thing. How many people do you expect today? Any idea?
No idea. We're waiting to be surprised. It should be great.
Well, if you are a concerned parent, I encourage you to go down today onto the South Steps 1:30. Where can people find out more about Informed Parents of California?
They can find us on Facebook. Just look us up, Informed Parents of California, and they can reach out to us, and they'll find all the facts, they'll see all the proof about the curriculum, and we can get them plugged in and organized to make an impact in their own school district.
Stephanie, Aileen, Michele, thank you for coming in, and best of luck today. I will put a link to your Facebook page on our Facebook page today.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you here. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. We got to get going here. Dennis Prager is next. We'll see you Monday morning at 6.